a diplomatic row is brewing between Sudan and Egypt. In a televised interview, the Sudanese Foreign Minister accused Egypt of taking Sudan's share of water in the Nile and is now demanding that Egypt compensate Sudan for the water it has used over many years. Now, this latest stance could impact Egypt's water dispute with Ethiopia over the Renaissance Dam. Egypt has been seeking Sudan's support in that dispute, and these accusations could mean a Sudanese shift towards Ethiopia. Let's get to you some insights on these latest developments. I'm joined from Cairo by CGTN's Yasser Hakim. Yasser, have we had any reaction so far from Egypt on these latest accusations coming from Sudan's foreign minister?
Until now, Egypt has not reacted, no statements yet to that statement from the Sudanese Foreign Minister, Ibrahim al-Ghandour. And at the moment, obviously, there is a fracture in relations, obviously, and these statements are coupled with other statements in the same interview where he talked about the Halaib area, which is also being called on by Sudan, saying it's their piece of land, while Egypt says it owns Halaib. It's a border village between both countries, and this is also a problem. And the Sudanese Foreign Minister said that his country has tried several times to solve those two issues, and that Egypt has refused to do so. Obviously, Egypt insists that there is a deal concerning the waters of the Nile and Egypt's share, and it has not at all broken any agreements or any international laws.
Well, as you suggest there is tension not only over the water of the Nile, but also a land or border dispute. But of course, Yasser, Sudan's President Omar alBashir is due to visit Cairo next week. Considering these latest developments, is that visit still likely to take place?
It's unknown if it will take place, because we understood from the Egyptian government that an invitation to alBashir was handed over a few months ago by the Egyptian Foreign Minister, and alBashir should have, as we understood, should have been present at the Youth Forum, the World Youth Forum that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh earlier this month. That he was invited to the forum, but we did not see him at the forum. He did not arrive to Egypt, and there was no statements from either side on whether he had agreed to arrive or to visit at the time. We understand, obviously, that there is a technical meeting next month of the three countries, the tripartite technical committee on the waters on the Nile basin countries, and also on the issue of the Renaissance Dam. These committee meetings are usually headed by either experts from the three countries, or the highest level was the foreign ministers. But we understand now that Egypt and the three countries are actually trying to increase their contacts to try to make it a summit, whereby, first of all, the Ethiopian Prime Minister would arrive and meet Egypt's president. And we still are trying to investigate if the Sudanese side will also be present. So there are talks behind closed doors to try to bring the three countries together, at least foreign ministers or the heads of state, to meet in Cairo next week. But we don't know yet of any reply or any confirmation on this.
Well, the fact that this meeting has the potential to become a summit certainly highlights just what's at stake for Egypt when it comes to its claim and right of use to the waters of the Nile. Yasser, how could this apparent shift in allegiances when we look at Sudan, how might this impact Egypt's foreign policy and engagement with the region?
Well, in the last 3 or 4 years, the relations with Sudan have been not consistent, if you may call it. Sometimes we would see close ties with the Sudanese and Egyptian presidents meeting several times per year in the last, in 2016 and in 2015. And then we'd see a slowdown or some kinds of statements that are negative statements coming out from both sides. which shows that the relationship is not as good as before. So it hasn't been consistent, and Egypt obviously feels that it cannot rely on Sudan concerning the Renaissance Dam issue, as Sudan has not been also quite clear on its stance. Sometimes it would show that it is supporting Egypt's stand on this, and sometimes it would come up with statements that show it is supporting Ethiopia. And the latest now shows a stance that would shift towards Ethiopia concerning the water share and the Renaissance Dam. Egypt has been trying to foster ties with the whole of the Nile Basin countries. We've seen Egypt has managed to break a deal between these South Sudanese factions in the war in South Sudan and try to bring peace to South Sudan. So obviously Egypt is also trying to get closer to other players concerning the Renaissance Dam. You know, the Nile will go through South Sudan as well. So it's a complicated issue. Egypt does not feel that the Renaissance Dam should stop, but it feels that Ethiopia should guarantee Egypt's water share would not be affected. And this is what Egypt is calling for, and that the latest discussions and meetings by the technical committee of the three countries, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, have shown that there is no guarantee yet, and has not made Egypt feel at ease concerning the guarantees. So it is calling for more from the Ethiopian side to ensure that once the Renaissance Dam is in full operation, it will not affect Egypt's water share. And this is something that Egypt feels it has not been achieved so far, and is trying to push for this to happen in the next, hopefully the next meeting next week in Cairo.
Indeed, fragile loyalties on the Nile. Thanks, Yasser Hakim, following those Egypt-Sudan relations for us from Cairo.